Psalm 108, a psalm of David. My heart is steadfast, O God. I will sing and make music with all my soul. Awake, harp and lyre. I will awaken the dawn. I will praise you, O Lord, among the nations. I will sing of you among the peoples. For great is your love, higher than the heavens. Your faithfulness reaches to the skies. Be exalted, O God, above the heavens, and let your glory be over all the earth. Save us and help us with your right hand, that those you love may be delivered. God has spoken from his sanctuary. In triumph I will parcel out Shechem, and measure off the valley of Succoth. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim is my helmet, Judah is my scepter. These are all, of course, regions in Israel. Moab, an enemy nation, is my wash basin. Upon Edom, another enemy nation, I toss my sandal. Over Philistia, another enemy nation, I shout in triumph. Who will bring me to the fortified city? This is the psalmist speaking again here. Who will lead me to Edom? Is it not you, O God? You who have rejected us and no longer go out with our armies? Give us aid against the enemy, for the help of man is worthless. With God we will gain the victory, and he will trample down our enemies. Psalm 109, for the director of music, of David, a psalm. O God, whom I praise, do not remain silent, for wicked and deceitful men have opened their mouths against me. They have spoken against me with lying tongues. With words of hatred they surround me. They attack me without cause. In return for my friendship they accuse me, but I am a man of prayer. This is not his fault. Whatever they have against this dude, it's not because of any legitimate harm he did to them. They repaid me evil for good, and hatred for my friendship. Appoint an evil man to oppose him, or an adversary, a Satan. Appoint a Satan to oppose him, an adversary to oppose him. Let an accuser, adversary, a Satan, stand at his right hand. That's what a Satan is an adversary or accuser. We saw a being called the adversary, Satan, do this to Job, when he accused Job in front of God. We also saw it referenced in Zechariah, when Job was going to accuse the high priest Joshua. So this guy is basically asking God to appoint a Satan, an accuser, an adversary, to go after his enemies for what they've done to him. Appoint an evil man to oppose him. Let an accuser stand at his right hand. When he is tried, let him be found guilty, and may his prayers condemn him. May his days be few. May another take his place of leadership. May his children be fatherless, and his wife a widow. May his children be wandering beggars. May they be driven from their ruined homes. May a creditor seize all he has. May strangers plunder the fruits of his labor. May no one extend kindness to him, or take pity on his fatherless children. May his descendants be cut off, their names blotted out from the next generation. May the iniquity of his fathers be remembered before the Lord. May the sin of his mother never be blotted out. May their sins always remain before the Lord, that he may cut off the memory of them from the earth. So he wants this guy gone. Okay? Whoever this dude is, maybe there's multiple of them, whoever that is, this psalmist wants these people out of his life, out of the picture, out of his hair. He wants them gone. He wants their children to be fatherless, their wives to be widows. They want their property to be seized and demolished. He wants their surviving family members to be beggars and ruined. He wants their names to be cut off and not remembered. He wants their sins to be remembered before God and not be blotted out. He wants the sins of their fathers to be remembered before God and not be blotted out. I mean, he wants this dude gone. He wants him punished to the most extreme ways possible. Like in his mind, in this psalmist's mind, whoever this dude was, of David, whoever it may have been, he has listed down a rain of curses on this guy that he can't think of anything worse than the things he just got done talking about. Having your name wiped out, having your property and your inheritance seized and removed, taken from your family, having your children, be scattered, your name wiped out and forgotten. He can't think of anything worse. Like, he has just called down a series of the worst possible things that he can imagine upon this guy, asking God to act as basically a prosecuting attorney to condemn this guy for all of his sins. Now again, the David, or whoever the psalmist is not taking action to accomplish this himself. But he is saying, God, do this. Judge this man. Condemn him for all he's done. For he never thought of doing a kindness. He's talking about his enemy again. He, the bad guy, never thought of doing a kindness, but hounded to death the poor and the needy and the brokenhearted. He loved to pronounce curses, so may it come on him. He found no pleasure in blessing, so may that be far from him. Okay, and this is something you just have to understand. The idea of blessing and cursing was just different in their culture than it is in ours. Like, we hear that word curse, and we think of saying like a bad word, saying a naughty word, but that's not really what it meant. When you hear about cursing in the Bible, or like I said before, even taking the Lord's name in vain, it doesn't mean like saying a swear word. It means like calling down a curse from heaven on your enemy. And this was a common thing to do in the ancient world. Everybody called curses upon their enemies. We call them today, in our fancy English term for this is an imprecation. And that's why we call some of these psalms imprecatory psalms. And I don't even know where that word comes from. I don't know the history or etymology of that word. But it basically means to call curses upon. And that is like a formal official request to your God to rain disaster upon your enemy. So cursing and blessing is the opposite. It's a formal request to your God, Israel's God or whatever God, to favor someone, to shower abundance and prosperity on someone. So cursing really isn't the same in the Bible as the Bible defines it. As the Bible talks about cursing, they're not just talking about like saying a bad word. That's how we think of cursing, because we don't really think about cursing in the sense of let's have God rain down judgment on you. We just don't really do that. Now sometimes you might hear someone say like go to hell or something like that, which I guess is kind of like a very mild form of that. But it's like the idea of cursing as it exists in this culture doesn't really exist in our culture. And as far as I'm aware, it never really has, or at least it hasn't for a long time. So we've kind of lost track of what that actually means. So he has actually this dude, the psalmist, has just rained down a whole bunch of curses, or asked God to rain down a bunch of curses on this guy. And now is saying, this dude, this bad guy that deals with me, loved to pronounce curses and hated to pronounce blessings. So let's withhold blessings from him and give him curses instead. He wore cursing as his garment. It entered into his body like water, into his bones like oil. It was just so natural to him. May it be cloaked about him. May it be like a cloak wrapped about him, like a belt tied forever around him. May this be the Lord's payment to my accusers, to those who speak evil of me. But you, O sovereign Lord, deal well with me for your name's sake. Out of the goodness of your love, deliver me. For I am poor and needy, and my heart is wounded within me. I fade away like an evening shadow. I am shaken off like a locust. My knees give way from fasting. My body is thin and gaunt. I am an object of scorn to my accusers. When they see me, they shake their heads. Help me, O Lord my God. Save me in accordance with your love. Let them know that it is your hand, that you, O Lord, have done it. They may curse, but you will bless. When they attack, they will be put to shame. But your servant, him in other words, will rejoice. My accusers will be clothed with disgrace. and wrapped in shame as in a cloak. With my mouth I will greatly extol the Lord. In the great throng I will praise him, for he stands at the right hand of the needy one, to save his life from those who condemn him. All right, one more for now. Well, I'll do it one more in this video. Psalm 110 of David, a psalm. The Lord, and that's capital L-O-R-D, Lord, which is the covenant name of Israel's God, Jehovah, says to my Lord, now that's lowercase L-O-R-D, Lord, which basically means master or owner. So God, the Jehovah God, Israel's God, says to my master, which is, he's referring to the king here. This is a messianic psalm. This is one of those psalms that the New Testament quotes and applies directly to Jesus. So we have to keep that in mind. Although we'll see that framed when we get to the New Testament. But the way the original psalmist would have meant this is that Israel's God is speaking to Israel's king. That is how the psalmist would have originally meant for this to be understood. Now the New Testament will reframe it as applying to Jesus specifically. But in this man's mind, it's David or whoever actually wrote this, and as they sung it and spoke it to begin with, they are thinking of Israel's God, YHWH, Jehovah, talking to Israel's king, whoever David or Solomon or whoever it happens to be. So the Lord, the God, Jehovah, Israel's God, says to my Lord the king, sit at my right hand, until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. The Lord, capital L-O-R-D, Lord, Jehovah, will extend your mighty scepter from Zion. Again, that's the king. Now this will ultimately be Jesus. This Lord, God is speaking to the king. Jesus is the king and ultimately being spoken to here. So the Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion. You will rule in the midst of your enemies. Your troops will be willing on your troops will be willing on your day of battle. So they're going to be ready to go. They're going to be ready to fight in your army. Arrayed in holy majesty, from the womb of the dawn, you will receive the dew of your youth, whatever that means. Or your young men will come to you like dew. Basically means the soldiers are going to be ready. He's not going to have to draft an army because everybody is going to be ready to enlist on their own. The Lord has sworn, this is the capital L-O-R-D, Lord, again, God, Jehovah's God, Israel's God, Jehovah, has sworn and will not change his mind. You are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. Now, none of the Judean kings were priests. God split those roles up into two separate functions, those offices of king and priest, into two different people throughout the history of the nation of Israel. And this was different. We had the kings that were from the line of Judah, sons of David, and then you had the priests that came from the tribe of Levi, sons of Aaron. Now this was so no one person could be both things at one time. If you're a priest, you could not be a king. If you were a king, you could not be a priest. It was impossible for one man to be both in the system that was set up in the Old Testament. However, in most nations around Israel, the king and the high priest were the same person. The same man fulfilled both offices simultaneously. That was basically how every other nation did it. And that's how Israel even kind of wanted to do it. It's like we read about the account of the rebellion of Korah in Numbers, and they were upset that the priesthood had been taken away from them. The firstborn usually was like the officiating priest of the family. Reuben would have been the firstborn, so Reuben's descendants wanted to have that role because they were used to it. That's what they expected in their culture. And in cultures around them, it was extremely common, in fact, I think just about ubiquitous, that the king was also the high priest. And he functioned as a high priest as well as a king. Israel was not that way. God split those offices into two different people, two different tribes, and it was not possible for one man to be both. Although the kings did try to exert influence over the priesthood, as we saw numerous times. Even some of the good kings did that in improper ways, like Uzziah. But there is going to be a day when the king will be a priest again. And of course, this is not referring to any of the kings who actually sat on Judah's throne, but it's referring to Jesus, who will be the king, the son of David, and will also have a priesthood assigned to him, but not like the priesthood that Israel has used since the days of Moses and Aaron. A priesthood that goes all the way back to Melchizedek. Melchizedek was a king and a priest. When Abraham came back from fighting the kings, the coalition of kings that he fought against to rescue Lot and his family, he was met by the king of Salem, which was Jerusalem, the king at the time, which was Melchizedek, who was both a king and priest of God Most High. Now that was before God established the priesthood in the days of Moses and Aaron. And Melchizedek wasn't a Jew or Hebrew to begin with. Okay? But Melchizedek, whoever he was, wherever he came from, we don't know. But somehow or another, he was righteous enough to be both a king and a priest, as well as a greater man even than Abraham was at the time. And Hebrews will talk about all this. And so the pattern of priesthood that the future king that is being spoken to here will adopt will be that pattern of priesthood, not the Aaronic pattern of priesthood which was established in the days of Moses and Aaron. So the original psalmist wouldn't have known any of this. He's just, this would have been coming to him from the Spirit, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and it won't be revealed until basically the book of Hebrews, essentially. But he is prophesying that someday the current priesthood of his day, the Aaronic priesthood, will cease, and a new priesthood will be established in which the king and the priest will be the same person again. Which in Israel's day, in Israel's culture, in the system that God had set up for them, that this man, the psalmist, was used to, that was not the case and would never have been the case without a change in the priesthood. So anyway, but we'll read all about that when we get to Hebrews. So God, Jehovah, Israel's God, has sworn and will not change his mind. You, the king, are a priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. The Lord, this is lowercase L-O-R-D, so the king, the master, is at your right hand. He will crush kings in the day of his wrath. He will judge the nations, heaping up the dead, and crushing the rulers of the whole earth. He will drink from a brook beside the way. Therefore, he will lift up his head. I don't know what drinking from the brook means. I don't know if that's a figure of speech that meant something to them in that day and time or not. I don't know.